you're tuning in because you want to know more
Yeah.
fast, right?
Get out all the digging.
Exactly. Get straight to the interesting stuff.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into something maybe a bit different. The world's most silent places.
Silent places. Intriguing.
We've got this article, 10 most silent places in the world, 10 most today, as our guide.
Okay.
And our mission, really, is to unpack this list. Not just name the places, but, figure out why they're so quiet.
And what makes them special? Or maybe even surprising?
Yeah, exactly. Find the key takeaways, the stuff that makes you think about, well, silence and noise in our own lives.
It's definitely a contrast to the usual buzz, isn't it? In a world that feels constantly loud, these pockets of quiet,
Yeah,
they really stand out.
they do. Makes you wonder what silence even is and why we might seek it out or even build it.
Which is a good starting point, actually. Some silence is deliberately constructed.
Right, like the article mentions Building 87, that's at Microsoft in Washington.
Uh-huh. And
And it's got these anechoic chambers. Sounds very high-tech.
they are. Anechoic basically means echo-free. Imagine a room designed to just soak up sound completely.
Why would they need that? The article says something about testing Cortana.
Exactly. It's for their audio lab. Think about it for something like Cortana, or even the speakers on a Surface tablet. You need super precise audio testing.
Ah, okay.
In an anechoic chamber, there are no reflections, no outside noise. You can measure exactly how a microphone picks up sound or how clearly a speaker reproduces it.
So it's about isolating the sound, getting rid of all the background stuff.
Precisely. Stripping away all the environmental noise to hear the pure sound itself. It's all about control for testing.
That makes sense. Then there's another place mentioned, Orfield Laboratories in Minnesota. Their chamber sounds even more intense.
Oh, it does. The description's pretty dramatic, isn't it? Pebble steel walls, thick concrete.
Yeah, a foot of concrete. And 2 vault doors, like a bank vault for silence.
And the result, they can get the background noise down to -9 decibels.
A -9.
Mm.
Isn't 0 supposed to be the quietest humans can hear?
Generally, yes. So -9 is, well, it's profoundly quiet. An absence of sound, really.
Wow. The article says most people can't even stand there for long, like 20 minutes max.
Yeah, apparently it's quite disorienting for most people.
Why? You'd think absolute quiet would be peaceful.
Well, we're just not used to it. In that kind of silence, you start hearing things you normally wouldn't.
Like what?
Your own body, your heartbeat, your breathing, maybe even your joints creaking, supposedly. Your ears might start ringing because there's no external sound pressure.
Whoa. That sounds kind of intense, almost like sensory deprivation.
It can be, yeah. It really highlights how much we rely on subtle background noise for, our sense of space and normalcy.
So what would they use that chamber for? More tech testing?
Yes, specifically measuring the faint sounds products make. Think like the hum of a refrigerator component or the click of a switch. Manufacturers want to know exactly how loud or quiet their products really are.
Huh. Okay, so extreme silence can be engineered, but it's maybe not something humans are naturally comfortable with for long periods.
Seems that way. It makes you think, doesn't it? Have you ever been somewhere so quiet it felt strange?
I think maybe camping deep in the woods after a heavy snow, it wasn't engineered, but the silence felt heavy, almost loud in its own way. You could hear the blood in your ears.
Yeah, that's a good example of natural, profound quiet.
Okay, so let's shift from the engineered silence to the natural kind. The article brings up the Kelso Dunes, Mojave Desert.
Right. Big sand dunes.
And the description says, no cars, planes, or wildlife found because of the vistas and a harsh environment. That just paints a picture of vast quietness.
It does. These are aeolian sand deposits, basically. Huge areas shaped by wind.
The Aeolian.
Yeah, and the sheer scale. Plus the harshness, meaning not much grows or lives there.
Yeah.
And certainly no roads or airports. It all adds up to natural silence.
A silence born from emptiness, almost.
Or maybe spaciousness, vastness.
Right. Then there's Olympic National Park, also in Washington State.
Beautiful place.
The article points out it's one of the few U.S. wilderness areas with no highways crossing it, and it's the biggest coniferous forest in the contiguous U.S.
So here, the quiet comes from density, maybe, and lack of infrastructure.
Yeah, it seems like it's not the emptiness of the desert, but the sound-absorbing quality of, tons of trees and no roads.
Exactly. You'd hear natural sounds, wind, birds, maybe a stream, but not that constant human hum of traffic or planes. It really shows how much we impact the soundscape.
Good point. The article also quickly mentions Kielder Myers in Britain, largest blanket bog in England.
Another example of a large, relatively untouched natural area. Bogs are often pretty remote and quiet.
So a theme seems to be emerging. Vastness, remoteness, lack of human development, that's often key for natural silence.
Definitely. The geography itself kind of dictates the level of quiet, whether it's desert, dense forest, or sprawling bogland.
Okay, let's look at another angle. Places quiet due to their unique geography or conditions. Landmannalaugar in Iceland.
Ah, yes, the end of the Lagavigur Trail.
It's called a quiet open road. Seems a bit contradictory, an open road being quiet.
Well, road might be generous. It's the end of a very famous, very long hiking trail. So while there might be some vehicle access, maybe for tour buses or support vehicles, it's primarily hikers.
Ah, okay, so not exactly Route 66.
Not at all. Plus, the Icelandic landscape is often very open, very vast. Sound doesn't bounce around or carry in the same way it might in a valley or city. So quiet through remoteness and its specific use.
Gotcha. Then we jump to Botswana, the Makgadikgadi pans,
Huge salt pans, among the biggest in the world.
and here the silence is seasonal.
That's the interesting bit, yeah. During the dry season, it's incredibly barren. Very little water means very little wildlife.
Silence.
Profound silence, apparently. Just vast, empty, salty earth. But then the rains come.
And the animals return.
Exactly. Wildebeest, zebras, birds. The place comes alive. So it gets louder still, natural sounds obviously, but not silent anymore. It becomes a safari destination.
So silence isn't always permanent, it can be cyclical.
Absolutely, it's dynamic.
And then, the ultimate example maybe, Antarctica.
The quietest continent.
The article uses the word deafening to describe the quiet because there are basically no human sounds.
That's a powerful description. It implies a silence so deep it's overwhelming, especially compared to our usual noisy lives.
But not completely silent, right. It mentions hearing creatures and echoes of Mother Nature.
Right. You'd still hear wind, ice cracking, penguins, seals perhaps, but the absence of human noise engines, voices, construction is what makes it feel so profoundly different. That deafening quality comes from the contrast.
Makes sense. Okay, so the article then kind of pivots. It talks about relative silence, even in cities.
Yeah, this is important. Absolute silence is rare, especially where people live.
It mentions Zurich in Switzerland, says it has the lowest noise pollution according to something called the Worldwide Hearing Index.
Right. Compared to other major cities, it's considered relatively quiet.
And just for contrast, it names Guangzhou in China as having the highest noise pollution.
So it shows that even in urban environments, there are huge variations in noise levels.
And things like city planning, traffic rules, maybe even cultural factors, they can make a real difference.
Definitely. It's not inevitable that cities have to be overwhelmingly loud. Some manage it better than others.
Which probably impacts people's well-being quite a lot.
Oh, for sure. Constant noise can be a major stressor. It affects concentration, sleep, even cardiovascular health.
Makes you think about your own environment, doesn't it? How noisy is my street, my workplace?
It's a good question to ask ourselves.
Okay, one last place on the list. This one sounds different again. Tacpi Hasanote in Mexico.
Ah, the cenotes near Tulum.
Yeah, you need a guide to get there, apparently. Known for deep blue water, quiet atmosphere.
Like a hidden gem.
Exactly. The article calls it that, for quiet snorkeling. So this is silence as an escape, something you seek out deliberately.
I think so. Here, the quiet is a feature, part of the appeal. The fact that it's a bit hidden, requires a guide, probably helps keep it quiet.
It's like discovering a little pocket of peace.
A sanctuary, almost. It reminds us that sometimes quiet isn't just found, it's sought out, and maybe even needs a little protecting.
So looking back, we've covered quite a range. Engineered silence in labs.
For precision.
Vast natural quiet in deserts and forests.
Where nature dominates.
Cyclical silence on salt pans. The profound quiet of Antarctica.
Driven by geography and climate.
Even relative quiet in a well-managed city, and this hidden, sought-after quiet in a cenote.
Well, it's really striking how diverse silence can be, both in its origins and probably in how it feels.
Yeah, the experience must be totally different in each case.
Exactly. The focused quiet of a lab feels different from the expansive quiet of a desert, which feels different again from the underwater quiet of cenote.
So the big takeaway isn't just where silence is, but maybe what it offers.
I think that's right. It offers different things: focus, peace, a connection to nature, maybe even a slightly unnerving confrontation with ourselves, like in those anechoic chambers.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is, what kind of silence do you value?
Good question.
Is it the total absence of sound? Or just a break from human noise? Is it the quiet of nature? or the quiet needed to focus.
And maybe how could finding more moments of that particular kind of quiet actually benefit you, inspired by these places we've talked about?
Yeah. Could seeking a bit more intentional quiet change how you think or feel or create? Something to mull over.
Definitely. Silence isn't just nothing. It's something else entirely. A
Right.
presence, maybe.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world's silent spots. Hope you found that interesting, maybe even a little peaceful.
We'll be back soon with another dive into another topic.
Until then, hope you can find some good quiet in your day.